So this happened on Halloween when I was about 11. My friend and I decided to go trick-or-treating. Yeah, we were a little old, but we just wanted some free candy. I lived in a very nice neighborhood, one of the ones where everybody gives out the full-size candy bars, so it wasn't unusual to have a lot of people come there to trick-or-treat. However, that also meant that there was about an acre of front yard for each house, so it took about 3 minutes to walk between each door. It was a good night for Halloween, weather-wise. Not too chilly, not rainy, or anything. This is important later. So it's approaching 8:30 p.m., and after hanging out on the golf course and appreciating our candy haul, we decided to start heading home and call it a night. The street I live on is a gigantic U-shape, like a little over half a mile walk from the top of the U, down the bend to the other side. We were walking towards the end of the U, further from my house, as we wanted to take the long way since it was such a nice night. It's about 9 p.m. now, so no one else is really out anymore at this point, and people turned off their porch lights, the universal signal for no more trick-or-treaters. That's when we noticed a lone white van parked on the street. We made a joke about how it looks like one of the stereotypical kidnap vans with the painted windows. That's when we noticed it shift out of park and slowly creep down the street towards us and park at the next house. Oh, they must just have kids trick-or-treating. It wasn't uncommon for people to drive their kids from house to house, since they were so spread out in our neighborhood. But given that it was 9 p.m. and a night with nice weather, it struck us as a bit odd. We checked every few minutes, and it seemed to just be stopping from house to house, like normal. We turned around again and kept walking at a leisurely pace, gossiping and whatnot. This is when we hear the car squeal as it moves forward down the hill and park again, this time only about 2 houses away from us, on the opposite side of the street. Again, weird time to trick-or-treat, but whatever. That's when we realized there were no kids getting out of the van, not once. Now this was before my first phone, a red and white Samsung Propel, since it was 2008. We were only 15 minutes from my house, but a bit disturbed, so we walked to the nearest door, rang the bell, and stuck our bags out in an attempt to act normal. A woman opens the door, just a crack, and proceeds to berate us for trying to trick-or-treat at this hour, and slams the door before we could even say a word. Okay, thanks, lady. We turn around, and the van is right there, parked in the wrong direction on our side of the street. The windows are tinted, so we can't even see the guy driving. Trying to keep our cool, we casually walk away from the door and end up on the street into this cul-de-sac loop that's on the side of the street that makes up the bigger U. If you cut through that loop and hop a couple of fences, you can end up at my back door. The van goes the same way. Now we know he's following us, since there's no reason for him to go up this side street otherwise. We break into a sprint, and I'm by no means athletic, but I hop those fences like an Olympian. We run inside my house, lock all the doors, and freak out while we sit in the front hall. Not 5 minutes later, the van slowly drives down the street past my house. We stress-eat our candy and think of what could have happened if we hadn't been aware of our surroundings. Fake trick-or-treater man with a creepy white van. Let's not meet. So it was a nice October evening. I was still in my senior year of high school, 16 female. I was attending some evening English classes at the time. I'm from a non-English speaking country, but I decided to skip since I was kind of worn out from all the studying. Instead, I went to my favorite half library, half shop establishment in a mall. I actually went there on purpose to buy a Hunter Thompson's book, since I was, and still am, a huge fan of his works. However, once I came there, I noticed they had a concert evening, and some small hippie band was singing just near the shelves I needed to go to. This library is a 2-story establishment, with the second floor being really small and like a balcony. Basically, it was a big square first floor, and the second floor was as if the square was cut from the inside. I'm sorry, I can't explain it well, but the point is, you could see the whole library from any spot. There weren't any separate rooms. So I get to the second floor and browse the biography and memoir shelves, thinking how I could get to my desired book. No one was even sitting near the band, so I anticipated that I wasn't allowed to go near them. There were a couple more people near me, but I didn't pay attention. Suddenly, a man came up behind me and said,
"Excuse me, can I look at these books?"
Being that I wasn't really interested in any of those, and looked through them just to kill some time, I immediately replied something like, "Yes, of course," and shifted slightly to the right. When the man was directly near me, I could get a good look at him. The first thing I thought upon checking him out is that he looked very much like Mads Mikkelsen, maybe a slightly uglier version of him. He was well dressed, looked normal and presentable. I didn't think anything of him, but then he started talking to me. He asked something like,
"Hey, what are you up to? Why are you here?"
I was a little shocked, since this man was obviously a lot older than me, and I've always looked my age, maybe even a little younger. But I went along, replying something like, "Yeah, I'm here to get this book, but there's a band there, and I don't know if I can get to it." He asked for my name. I was smart enough to give him a fake one. Then, he starts very eagerly talking about the author, gonzo journalism, and from his body language, I immediately understood what he was up to. My mother is a psychologist, so she taught me a lot of things about people and whatnot, so I picked up on his intentions very fast. This man was after me. We made small talk. I was obviously uncomfortable, but I didn't know how to get out of the situation. He was talking non-stop, trying to hang on to me. And when, at one point, my phone buzzed, it just caught Wi-Fi. I thought someone was calling me and turned around. He asked me if he was bothering me. Being my little polite self, I said no with a little fake laugh. I should have just brushed him off, really. So then came a really disturbing point when he asked for my age. I cheerily replied that I was 16, which by the way was true, thinking that would scare him away. But no, he didn't care that I was a minor. He just happily replied that he was 46. It got more creepy for me when he offered a chat over coffee. I said something in the lines of, "But I'm just 16. I can't really hang around older men." To this, he replied something I remember very well, with a serious expression.
"You're already 16? That's old enough. You're also just so sexy. That's why I approached you."
At this point, I was hysterical on the inside. I mean, I knew that this guy couldn't try anything in a fairly crowded shop, but it was still scary. So, I obediently went to a little dining lobby in the corner of the library, trying to brainstorm any strategies of retreat. Maybe it was a dumb idea, but I decided to say, "Oh, I actually have a dance class soon. I'll be late if I don't go now, so I'll get the book and we'll be going." He took it well and waited for me. I went straight for the book. I didn't even care about the band anymore. While I was at the counter paying for it, I really hoped I could slip away, but this man waited just behind me and called for me right when I was about to book it out of the door. He started asking me about my dance classes, what style I was learning, where was my dance studio at, etc. I tried to give the most vague answers I could, so we dropped it and came straight to the point, scheduling a date. He kept rambling about this new bubble tea place, visibly desperate to try to drag me into this. I just replied that it wasn't a good idea, and when he asked,
"When then?"
I just threw a never at him and speed walked away. He mumbled
"Oh, okay then."
and went the opposite way. Needless to say, it's not that creepy and really anticlimactic. But I was pretty shaken that evening. I don't even know why. I've always been catcalled a lot and hit on by older men, but this particular encounter was pretty unnerving even though I don't think anything of it now. Every time I look at the book, I remember this man. I hope we never meet again. And yeah, one last thing. I learned a valuable lesson from this. Fuck politeness. So I'm not even sure exactly when it happened. It's been so long since, but I would put it at a rough estimate of 3 to 4 years ago. It was a late and dark autumn night of running in the woods that was lit up by yellow-colored lights. The routes were made for recreational hiking routes and runners. This occurred from around 10 p.m. to midnight. A little about myself. I'm a runner. I run very far distances as I'm an ultra runner. I'm thin and fit and often mistaken as a girl. So anyway, the story takes place in the woods, in which I used to run often in the darkness. I'm not that type to get scared of anything except my own shadow. Hell, when I see glowing eyes in the woods, I often go out and check them out, and often see cool animals, such as badgers and raccoons. This trail specifically is well lit for about 30% of the route, with a ton of loops around and shortcuts. However, this night was a little bit different, as I got a little spooked off when seeing strong lights coming from the direction right behind me, questionable as hell. I noticed it was a van, riding very slowly right behind me. I think to myself, I should yield and go to the side of the road to give the van some room to move past me. The van barely fits to begin with, but something in me told me not to stop and keep running. I was pissed that the van dared to drive in a pathway that didn't allow any vehicle to drive by. So I stubbornly ran in the center. As time went by, I began thinking that maybe I should just let it move past me and run to where it's not lit up by lights. I was thinking that it must be a service car for the city, checking that the lights were working at night. I'm not sure if this is a thing. Nope. It continued right along with me, along with some questionable routes that one wouldn't take. Hell, it wasn't even that far off from me, with about a distance of around 5 meters at the closest to 10 meters at max. It continued as I went for my second loop, and that is when I knew something was really weird. But this happened so long ago, and nothing more happened than this. It's weird because the person never honked at me or made any aggressive moves towards me. All I can recall is I lost the van by running via the more narrow pathway into the woods. Since I had headlamps on, that was something I could easily do. It was probably nothing, something that can be easily explained away, but it sure as hell was a weird experience. I've had a lot of other weird experiences as well, being a late night runner, but this was one story that I forgot about completely until today. I should also add that the route had some quite steep hills at some of the routes, which surprised me that the van even tried to drive them up. Hey friends, I just wanted to end this video by thanking you for your continued support. You all mean so much to me, and I hope that you're doing well. Please comment and like if you enjoyed. Take good care, and sweet dreams.